Can y'all hear me crunching on my Triscuits?
I thought that was you. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm like, okay.
It's okay. I always find like that noise in the back podcast kind of nice. Like the
Me
nice
too, yeah.
ambient of like people opening a beer or like much.
Puffing on it, just my favorite.
Oh, yeah. That reminds me, I've got a Juul pod before recording.
Man, those things are evil. I thought they would help me bacon. Yeah, like
I think one of the ones I have is yours, actually.
What do you
you
mean?
left here. You left one at my house.
Oh, shit. River, I thought you were the other dude. Oh, my
No.
God. Oh, no shit. That makes sense. Oh, shit. That explains it, because that trip we came back, me and David had like one of our little endless gay tiffs. I'm like, I can't find my Juul. And he's like, you're a pathetic drug addict. And I'm like, I know. And like, we had to like, I had to force him to like, you know, he's that Jew who has to fucking get there. You know, like he's like, we have exactly 43 minutes and we have to get them. Like, I need a Juul. It's like, no. That's why that whole thing happened. Now I don't.
Yeah, there's two types of people. There's Juul puffers and there's the Jews.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Dude,
this is like.
Jews don't even smoke cigarettes, do they? I don't think I've ever known a Jew
what they
smoke a
do.
cigarette. Yeah. Like,
Hey, can everybody hear everybody?
GayStepDad in the house.
Yeah.
One motherfucker.
COH got his Windows 95 up and running.
Yeah, I was wondering. I'm like, he's got like a 98 Lenovo laptop that he had.
No, I have a Hewlett Packard.
Oh, what?
An HP.
That's some Nazi shit.
Yo, CH, can you turn yours up a little bit?
Yeah, we'll see.
You know, this is still easier than getting like 4 homos together to go get mimosa. This is still like not.
I wouldn't know. I just want to make it clear that I would not know.
Take my word for it. Oh, thou dost protest too much.
Yeah. I mean, I'm laughing. I find it relatable, but I don't know.
I find it relatable in a very abstract, very distant way.
Right. Just like I do with sports. I'm like, oh,
I get up. So I'm at Slavoid T.
All right, this is Shit Spouter 37.
This is Black.com build.
This is the Fed Post.
Yeah, coming in loud and clear. Can you hear me? Yeah. Both of you guys? COH, can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you, Slav.
Beautiful.
My bad, guys.
Oh, that's fine. You know, that's what today's about. Today's about second chances.
Redemption.
I wasn't about Easter that way. Easter is the sequel, the redemption.
I mean, if you think about it, like it literally is. But
Part 2.
dude, it's kind of like if you think about it, man, like the Bible's kind of wild, dude, because it's got a lot of metaphors and shit in it, dude.
It's kind of like the Empire Strikes Back to the Old Testament.
Yeah, it's high level shit. It's that heady shit.
Dude, Jesus came out of the cave and then he went up to Bespin to fuck up his dad with a lightsaber.
Very relatable.
Yeah, dude, that's the hero's journey, bro. Dude, do you know that Star Wars is the hero's journey, dude?
Gays are notoriously late.
GayStepDad's also just like got a strong buzz going on, which I respect the shit out of. But...
All right.
Good. That's good.
Don't use any of the old stuff where I'm like doxing myself talking to
No, we never use any of that. We keep it in the files. We keep it on as blackmail.
Yeah, we keep that behind the paywall. Anyone that wants to pay us $2.50, we'll give them your personal information.
Yeah, anybody who wants River life updates, like where I'm working now or my new address or any of that. Yeah.
Do y'all think the feds like subscribe to the podcast so they can listen to the paywalled episodes, or do they just NSA their way into it?
I mean, it's only
Shit,
$5.
if they do, I mean, that's just more money, bro. I already got your fucking money.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck what you're writing down and listening to.
Exactly. Yeah. Right.
I mean, I would.
I got nothing to hide.
I'm sure that Patreon gives exceptions to law enforcement agencies.
There's a federal account, like an FBI account. They're just like, put it on the tab.
Yeah. Go type in promo code. Promo code COINTELPRO at checkout.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's part of the stimulus plan or something. Like they're just like subscribing to podcasts, trying to boost the economy.
Yeah, because that's all the
$4
economy is
billion.
now is fucking people podcasting with each other. That's the entire economy.
Podcast trickle down economy.
There's no real job.
We're doing.
You know what, y'all? Why do they call it podcast? Like I never knew. Is it a pod? Like a group of 3 friends is a pod, or like you're in the pod eating bugs and casting?
They want you in the pod.
It's because iPod. It started out.
That's what I thought.
Yeah,
Okay,
iPod,
What?
and then
Really?
of course cat. Yeah, man.
Oh, interesting. I
wanted to give it a deeper meaning because I knew that's what it was, but that's boring.
I just remember
Well, yeah. That's me. That's me not playing along and just smacking down the bit immediately with the literal explanations of everything.
well, actually,
Now it's Slav's time to be a boomer.
Yeah, no, exactly.
I just remember white libs were always just like listening to podcasts like 5-10 years ago when I was younger, and I would just be like,
yeah.
yo, what the fuck is this shit? You guys are weird. What the fuck is a podcast? It's like you don't listen to the radio, you listen to podcasts. It's weird.
Yeah, they're like, you don't listen to the serial killer podcasts, bro.
Right.
You don't like to listen to that shit.
It was like,
It's like, nah, I don't really like murder, dude.
it was
Well, that's
like
all
lib
the
shit.
broads.
Yeah.
Yeah. Broads
exactly.
are like, I'm listening to hashtag caller daddy.
Or like I worked at a place where literally like all of the women I worked with listened to that My Favorite Murder show, and like I guess
my God.
I didn't work around them, right? And so I didn't have to like worry about it, but I guess like it was like a food service type deal, and so they were kind of like in like the bakery kind of kitchen deal. And I guess if you had to work shifts there, you just like had to just fucking listen to this podcast on fucking loudspeaker all day, just being destroyed by the feminine energy around you.
That's like some weird circle jerk, but it's like mostly chicks, and it just doesn't work.
Yeah, I have no idea. I mean, it's not like new. Like women are like have always been like, at least for a long time, like true crime's really popular, and
Yeah.
I don't know. Like
What is
Because
with
these
women-
bitches are tripping.
Yeah.
What is with women and normies loving like super violent, sexually perverted, like true crime shit? They love that shit. Like fucking like a Law and Order Special Victims Unit. Like all they love
Well, it's
it.
because their normal lives are so safe, so they like need to feel some
Yeah,
excitement.
right.
Yeah.
I
Well,
think
and-
that's why like every because my mom used to watch Lifetime a lot.
Yeah.
Like and everything on Lifetime is just people getting murdered or raped or having their children
exactly
kidnapped and
right.
raised in a basement. Just the awful
It's just like
shit.
Room on repeat.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
pedophilia week on Lifetime.
Well, now,
channel.
yeah,
I just
Netflix,
love
all
that
their
shit.
new shows are all like true crime based, like, making it. I mean, it's low budget too.
Dude,
format-wise.
it's all these fucking normie ancient Greeks putting on plays where people get murdered and cut their eyes out.
All
man.
right. Okay, I get your
Oh,
point.
yeah.
All right. Fair enough.
These people are sick.
Yeah, I mean that shit grosses me out. Like I'll watch Special Victims Unit like twice a year, and I'm like, God, I can't even finish this. It's, it like fucking
It's
freaks
actually-
me out. I'm
it's-
like, I don't need to think about this shit. I don't want to think about this. Like,
Yeah, Ice-T's on there just like, you're talking about they did what?
exactly, yeah. I'm like, this is
saying-
not for me.
You're telling me that they went in and put their feet up on Nancy Pelosi's desk?
Done.
You telling me they got kids in cages?
It's not the same. It's just relative separation, bro. It's not family separation.
Ice-T standing outside of a cyclone fence crying.
No, he would sit out there and just like shoot off guns, and that's what I still love about him. He'd be like having two pistols just shooting them up in the air.
No, I mean,
That's the energy we need, man. That's the energy.
these people, yeah.
The next AOC, I hope she takes an AK-47 to the border and just like
That'll be Lauren Boebert. She'll be doing that shit.
Well, dude, I like you freaking tune into like 5 seconds on Fox now, and they're going full on free the kids in cages now, and so maybe she will.
Makes sense.
Are they really?
Yeah, I mean that's like like I literally like it because I've been like off Twitter and everything. Like I've basically just every once in a while been like watching normie news clips on like YouTube and everything. And like, yeah, dude, like Fox News is like, I don't know if they're like full on abolish ICE, but they're like functionally the abolish ICE people now.
Right.
Yeah, it's tons of like insane, inhumane conditions, these cages, and they got the foil blankets on people, and I mean, which is obviously a fucking horrible thing and everything. But yeah, it's funny. It's their turn now.
And then AOC does a TikTok and is like, "Oh, well, this is actually because of global imperialism," which I mean, it's true. But where was that before? That wasn't there before.
Yeah.
Man, if
there's like the Spider-Man meme of just pointing at each other.
Yeah,
right. If they would just get rid of the foil blankets and get some nice, like some nice, like Vermont wool blankets, that would completely change the whole game, man.
Some hand-woven quilts made with love.
Just like hire a Mexican chick to make those fucking things, you know?
Yeah,
like
some nice Pendleton
loom set up.
Some nice Pendleton blankets. And
it's a jobs program inside the camps. Two birds, one stone.
Yeah, I mean, shit, I would probably fucking want to go there if they had Pendleton blankets.
These people, AOC looks so desperate on her TikTok. Just like you can tell that the pressure is getting to her. Like she's definitely seeing the leftist posting L's account and like seeing all up into it. She's just like, these motherfuckers.
She knows the walls are closing in, guys. Any day now.
She honestly,
she's like, bring out the 14-year-old Instagram selfie pose, quick.
For real, yo, she was looking stressed, man. She was looking. I've never seen her like that. She was like.
She put her eyeball right up to her phone camera. It was just like, what? Excuse me, what?
Are you for real? I love that. Are you for real? Oh my God, that was my favorite.
I love it. I love watching her just collapse like this. This is fucking great.
Yeah.
It's so good.
If she was actually smart, she would do what every other Democrat does and just completely ignore it. But like she's so online that she feels like she has to engage with what everybody is saying and engage with like people who are rightfully critiquing her. And that's going to be her fucking downfall. Right. Like she could have been well on her way to like become president in 10 years or something. But I don't think it's going to happen now because she's just too responsive.
Discourse pilled.
Yeah, she's creeping on Amy Teresa's account at like 4 a.m. Like,
AOC Cummings account. Just like, what the hell are these people doing?
yeah. AOC's like, Drew said what? He posted a picture of what on a printed photograph?
Yeah, she's stressing about the dreaded post left AOC. She's like, oh my God, they're a real threat.
So really fast. So this is a new dynamic on the show. I'm completely boomer pilled, totally out of the circle. So what's going on with her? What's the deal with this?
No, she's just been doing TikToks to explain. She's just like on defense because she's like, people are asking her like, hey, so do you care about the border stuff anymore? Because now they're influx. There's like tweets of her where she's like, oh, it's a concentration camp, and now she's like, oh, it's an influx facility, and people are like calling all these naive like lib zoomers that like her are like calling her out like, hey, wait a minute, I thought we were for real, and she's just like, she's doing TikToks to like very defensively, just like, like, oh, it's because of global imperialism and it's because of all this deeper stuff, and so I'm not lib, I'm like really like radically liberal, you know what I mean? She's doing that whole like posturing like
we knew, lady. Because yesterday my girlfriend was telling me like that she was like, oh yeah, my sister just messaged me and was like, oh yeah, I finally see what you guys were saying about AOC, and I was like, what's the deal? What's going on? And she's like, oh yeah, it's like she's like hedging on the ICE stuff, and it's just kind of funny because I don't like, who gives a shit? I don't know. It's just funny because it's always like a day late, $1 short about everything.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's always finding the wrong reason to get the technically correct stance on all this shit. Like, shit, she's full of shit. Like it was always obvious. And like, I don't know. I don't see any like angle. I don't see any angle on any of this like ICE stuff to where it's just not an issue I care about. Like, do I think that it's like not inhumane? Like, no, like it's patently terrible. Anyone with a pulse thinks that, right? Like abolishing ICE.
You're sounding like a lib, bro.
I mean, let's be real. The thing is, let's be real. Like the kids and the people in the migrant camps with the fucking foil blankets right now, they're they're enjoying that shit because they were on top of a freight train in the fucking blazing sun and the freezing fucking cold for months to get there. So it's like a little fucking vacation for them, however it plays out. And it's just like, that's the worst part, is just like that's where shit, that's where things meet, you know? Like if you've ever hung out on migrants on a freight train in Mexico, and then you see them, they get locked up and they're basically getting 3 squares a day or whatever, you're like, yeah, that fucking sucks. But like, that's where the two things meet. Do you know what I'm saying? Am I too drunk? Do you know what I mean? Like,
no, you're fine. I mean, for me, it's,
you
just,
know what I'm saying? Like, it's disgusting, but just the way the histrionics is what's so disgusting about it. Like how it can be pitched either way. Like Fox can use it, CNN can.
Well, these
use
people
it.
are they're just props, and I don't want to like
speculate.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't want to speculate on like whether they're like, you know, they deserve this or it's better.
No, I'm not saying that.
I'm not. Yeah, no, you're not. I mean, but I don't know. I personally don't know. But all I know is that Obama built those fucking cages and then went away, and then all of a sudden it's a big deal when Trump is there, and now it's not a big deal anymore.
Yeah.
No,
so
that's
like,
the thing. It's all fucking performative, and where I'm coming at it from, just with the entirety of the issue, is it's like, okay, so it's either we have like a border policy where we just count on people dying in the desert as a natural wall, or we just have open borders and just like further weaken the labor market. And like, I don't really agree with either of those options. And so like, I'm just going to pay attention to one of the other many political issues going on right now, especially since like it's completely agnostic. like again, like Fox has just seamlessly adopted the lib point of view that was like the case up until like a couple months ago. And so like, that's what they've done for the past like 10 years. Yeah. Exactly. Like if anybody's paying attention to kids in cages and all of this stuff beyond just like the basic, like, oh, like many things in this world, this is a horrible reality. Like if you're taking it really seriously, like the fucking like hysterectomies or whatever that was going on, that people were like freaking out about, which was like, I'm almost positive it was complete bullshit, right? Like I think so too, it's just a fucking wind up narrative, and like it's very clear that people are benefiting from it to that extent, and like in any of the solutions on display right now are going to like not benefit us whatsoever. So like just fuck the entire thing. I don't know, like having her like not just like having her cool off, like just getting mad at AOC and being like, oh man, like when you were shilling for open borders, I was with you, but now that you're like cooling on all of this, like, god damn it, you asshole. It's like, that's being right for the wrong reasons. Whatever.
I think you just nailed like this whole, like, whatever separates the quote post left unquote from the rest of the left is like, that's what we're looking at. If I can say we're looking at the narratives that the left is forming and like nurturing, you know, we're looking at it from narratives, but they're looking at the literal physical shit, you know, like they're looking at how, like the kids in cages and all this, you know what I'm saying? And this is why they can't handle us, because they, you know, we're constantly able to see that they're just building narratives based on physical reality. And it's also weird because, you know, they're always like materialist analysis, and they think they're doing materialist analysis by looking at the fucking kids in cages, but we're looking at the narratives that they're building about the kids in cages. And, you know, I mean, it's just it's just the most baby brain fucking shit. Like it's the assumption that like anyone with a fucking pulse is gonna like look at that stuff and be like, oh, this is fine and good, and I approve of this. This is great. I feel great about this. Like, are you fucking stupid? I don't know. I mean, I think some conservatives do. I think some conservatives look at that shit. Well, yeah, but that's just because like a lot of normie conservatives are just like completely infected with just like the zigging whenever libs zag type deal. Yeah, right. Totally. Yeah. And that's why they're just their shadow. They're just like the perfect.
Like a lot of people on both sides of the spectrum are perfectly like that. Like that's just like how most of American politics is. It's just people zigging and zagging. Like it's just all reactionary shit for real. No one has any just coherent, like set actual principles. Yes.
Well, everybody's trying to make this into a moral argument, and moral arguments like don't work. I mean, the reason that people are being held in such numbers like in those facilities is because you could easily let these people out on like ankle monitors. Half of them like have family already in the United States. The reason you don't do that is because all of that is privately contracted. and there's people who benefit, and those people donate to both Democrats and Republicans.
Yep.
And so, of course, nothing is going to change, except for maybe the Democrats will actually enrich these people further because they're just going to make the facilities bigger so people are less crowded.
Larger construction bids and stuff like that they can overrun and like not actually use all the money, and just like more black holes to just like pour money into private shit.
Are you talking about job creation?
Yeah.
I'm talking about bringing the jobs back, baby.
AOC is going to reverse on ICE and just like rebrand ICE as like sort of like NGO nice guys who
we need social worker ICE agents.
We need exactly. Yeah. We need more ICE.
Well, did
ICE
y'all
with clipboards instead of guns or whatever.
Did y'all see the lady who was at the detention facility and arguing with Ted Cruz, like that video? No. Oh my gosh. So it was this video of this lady who I thought was AOC. Like I had to do like a double take, but it was some Biden administration person who was in one of the border facilities, and Ted Cruz had gone in there and he was like talking about how it wasn't dignified and all this stuff. And then she was saying like, please respect the dignity of the people. This isn't a zoo and all that. Don't record. It was like very much, I mean, I know it wasn't literally AOC, but it's basically AOC like that. And that's the whole sort of idea of social justice. I think at this point, it's like all about images and like quote unquote dignity that is completely detached from like actually being able to live in a dignified life, which is like being able to provide for yourself.
Well, they've already, dignity is a problem for them. Like they don't like dignity. Are we doing? Are we doing the podcast, or is we just shooting the shit still?
So I'm assuming
we're recording now. CRK's just been having some audio issues.
Oh my bad. You guys, well, just like like I hate to get too twittery about it, but like if you look at the Ty Lee account, and how she's like anti-dignity or whatever, that literally is like the soul of their entire project.
Anti-dignity? What the fuck does that even entail?
Yeah, exactly. Well, they think dignity is like a bourgeois concept. They think dignity is a bourgeois thing. You know what I
love this shit.
They literally do.
Yeah.
Which is such bullshit. Like if you're actually like working class, like would understand that dignity is like literally the only thing you have.
Exactly.
Right. No, exactly. I love I'm gonna my new pet project online is gonna be explaining to people how not pooping your pants is actually a bourgeois construct. Yeah.
Shitting your pants is the most proletarian thing you can do.
I mean, this goes back into my obsession with like anarchism and anarchoid neoliberalism. Is that that's literally true? These people think that wiping your own ass is a bourgeois value.
Post diaper.
Yeah.
Post diaper.
Yeah.
Oh, the American working man has a full diaper. Okay.
Empty bank account, full diaper.
There it is, right there.
Yeah, I just feel like it's just weird when it's like they had the camps, and now the only issue was whether they're separating them, and they emphasize that so much when we all know that Obama made the camps. So it became clear that it's like, all right, you're not really having an issue with the camps. You're just having an issue with they had this hyper focus on the separating thing. So now that they stopped doing that, now they're like, oh, this is a victory. But if you are a rad lib, right, and you care about this, that's not much of a victory. You know what I mean? If you really, if you have rad lib views and values, this is nowhere near a victory. It's clearly you got gypped so that you could vote for Democrats. So it's like, it's funny seeing AOC like knowing that was going to happen, and then AOC like doing these TikToks like, well, now we stopped child separation, so we did what we said we would do, and everybody feeling like, oh shit,
them. Like they're still separating them. It's just not from parents now. Like it's only from relatives. Like if your grandma brings you, if your brother brings you, if your cousin brings you, they're still separating you.
Right.
So like they literally couldn't even address that. Like she just puts out a video. She's like, well, actually, there's a difference between a relative and your parent.
That's the thing. It's the Kamala Pell Grants in like low income communities that do 3 years of this type of work and own a small business for this long. It's like so narrow and hyper focused. Yeah, that's what these libs. It's the technocrat shit.
It's the narcissism.
It's the Joe
narcissism of small differences too. It's the same shit.
And it's the Joe Biden saying we're going to give you $2,000 a month, but then it's $1,400 because the other $600 was already out. It's the read the fine print mindset.
No, River, you've been fact checked. I saw Snopes. Snopes said that that's been fact checked. That's false because you have have to factor in that there was the 1400 and then the 600. You know, you have to factor that in. So that's a real thing.
There's got 4 Pinocchios.
The confusion is not a bug; it's a feature. You know, I mean, that's what they're doing. That's the thing.
Speak on it.
Yeah, I mean, that's all. That's like basically all I can say is just like the tension between the like abolish ICE and then 3 months later you're not saying abolish ICE anymore and people are confused. They're like, why is this bitch not saying abolish ICE anymore? That's the point.
Totally.
Keeping people confused constantly. Just like it's just like a mass delusion, mass cognitive dissonance. You're like, wait, why is AOC just like not really like switching gears or completely changing what she's saying, but she's just toning down the rhetoric or like amping it up in another way.
Wait, why is she not pro pooping her pants anymore? I thought everybody.
Exactly, yeah.
Why did I buy all these fucking diapers from Costco?
Right. Yeah. I guess those are just going to sit in my fucking my garage now.
Yeah, this is just going on the pile with all the fucking pussy hats and all the Coney 2012 posters. This is bullshit.
What about the Cuomo sexual shirts
and all the Cuomo sexual G strings I bought? God damn it! This is a fucking highway robbery.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
When you just like stick in the like muddy, murky obscurity and you're always just ambiguous about what you actually believe or what are like the steps that go about accomplishing what you believe, then you can make yourself anything, anytime to anybody.
Yep.
And so like these libs can just like hang out in this oh, well, I didn't really say or really mean that. I actually meant this one thing. And you didn't even know like how to really think about it fully because it wasn't like a fully developed concept at the time. And now we've moved on to this new thing. So even if you're confused on it, we've got it figured out.
It's the classic dating women playbook. That's what she's. That's what she's trying from.
First date protocol. Yeah.
No,
all things to all people. To all bitches.
No. Honestly, I fucking respect it. And she's just like, oh, you thought that I wanted to abolish ICE? You're being kind of crazy. Are you okay?
Yeah. No, she really is Obama 2.0. Like to me, she really is. She's like the perfect, like say all the right things and then just like pivot whenever is convenient, like, oh, well, I said everything. So I'm just going to pick one of the things that I said that fits this moment. That gets
but here's the key difference is that Obama was like super masculine. And here's what's really funny
and
because they're telling us to abolish the gender binary. Yeah, exactly. But no. We had Obama who was like the smooth talking, like, authoritative masculine figure. And then we have
daddy,
AOC,
if you will.
It's the same. Yeah, exactly. AOC is the bratty sub who's just like histrionic and freaking the fuck out constantly and just like, why didn't you fucking clean the sink after you wash the dishes? Shit, like
AOC's fresh off 2 seasons of the HBO's Euphoria and ready to go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Are her eyebrows permanently elevated on her face at any given time?
She paid $500,000 for a consultant to tell her to make those eyebrows.
Yeah.
They focus grouped them.
Yeah, like drag queen eyebrows.
Yeah,
they're really disarming. They're constantly disarming.
Yeah.
Well, she always has to look surprised because she has to retain this like image of an outsider who doesn't know what's going on and has no control and can't be held culpable for anything bad that the government she works in does.
I need you to call me to account. Shit. Yeah.
Right. I'm just a simple backwoods bartender from the Bronx. Doing the same thing my grandpapa did.
Oh my God. I love Slav's characters on this show.
Dude, it's kind of like the greatest characters we play sometimes are ourselves, really.
Whoa,
that's a callback to what we were saying about AOC. So,
bro, you like A24? It sounds like you like.
You're deep as shit, bro.
Damn, dude, this is a cerebral ass podcast, man.
It is, man. I'm just gonna say it, Baudrillard.
No, yeah. I mean, we'll get off her because she's too easy. She's too.
No,
easy
exactly. That's what you say every time, right? It's like
it's like dunking on a kiddie goal.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It's taking the Fisher Price basketball hoop and lowering it down to the
just ruining it, like just breaking it to bits.
Yeah. It's like a Biden campaign level of difficulty.
Yeah, she's the booty call. It's too easy, man. You just you want more of a challenge, but yeah, it's basically like the imperialism thing. Like all of a sudden now that's the thing, which I agree with, but it's like that doesn't matter when Biden Biden's running. And if Biden's more imperialist than Trump is, but, and that's somehow okay to support him. And then, when Biden is running, then you can get very narrow and be like, look, we can't be idealists. We got to focus on these little, harm reduction things. And then after it's done, now you're like, oh, no, actually, this harm reduction doesn't matter because we have a bigger problem. So you just code switch back and forth depending on who's fucking running and when the election season
it's about
is.
If you did the work, then you'd know it was about imperialism. Anyway, stop questioning us about bombing Syria, you fucking idiot.
Yeah.
I love man. I love how you're how you're like reclaim the code switching thing, because that's literally what fucking AOC does. You know what I mean?
For real.
That's amazing. That I never thought of that.
I don't know what
cool.
code switching means. I've heard SLAV say it on here, but I don't know what it means. So I'm assuming this is what it means. Slib talk.
CRK, it's like when you get on here and you're like, well, I'm actually not racist and I don't hate the Jews and I love women.
Okay. I got it. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, code switching is just a manifestation of my white guilt.
Right. When we talk on Discord,
gaslighting.
When we talk on Discord versus when we're on the pod in public, right? Okay, got it.
Yeah.
If you're in discourse with very online man, and then you go to discourse with regular people, that's code switching.
All right. No. Okay. All right. So
I can't wait till AOC code switch is into being like really Puerto Rican and just tells people not to bother voting. She's like, it don't matter. They already know who won. Like, it's all based.
I would support her then, though.
Shout out my Boricuas.
Because base.
Don't vote. Don't vote for these fucking gringos.
Code switching into pulling Boebert's fucking hair on the floor of the Senate.
I wish you would code switching into just like not speaking English anymore. Like if you just like only speak Spanish.
Yeah, I wish that bitch would shut the fuck up.
Yeah, exactly.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, exactly.
Code switching into being a mime.
Anyways, enough of this bitch. Enough. I can't take it anymore.
It's like charades. It's like, oh no, what's she trying to say? I don't know. Anyways,
it looks like she's crying. I don't know.
Oh well, she does that all the time. So who can say?
Yeah, the Italian fingers and all that. Just you can meme out what she's saying. But all right, so this is okay. So let's switch to this other thing. The Washington Post thing. So they had this. I don't know if you guys have all seen it, but they had this article.
I almost certainly haven't.
Yeah. They were basically saying like Biden, he should avoid the infrastructure issue because experts think that it's too much of a white working class issue.
Right.
Okay, I got to push back on this one a little bit. Did I cut you off?
No.
Not so much pushback, but like I saw an article on something called like Reclaim the Fight or some like weird fucking Radlib website. There's like a billion of those fucking Radlib websites.
Their stupid little fucking slogan and
yeah. But like I saw this art because I just Googled it because I saw that you wanted to talk about it, and it was, of course it was bullshit, but I'm just like maybe this is like an opening into something interesting, because the whole point was to say, and these people are so inept and stupid that when they say they're trying to break down the myth of the working class as this like white dude, wearing, I don't know, jeans and a fucking hard hat as being the guy who does the infrastructure. They're trying to break that down. Like I'm being very optimistic here when I say that I read this, that they're trying to in the Radlib mind, they're trying to instill the idea that the working class isn't just a bunch of white construction workers, which I don't know about you guys, but I never think of the working class as being a bunch of white dudes. Like I just think of the working class as being the black dudes who fucking fix my streets and fucking fix the power when it's out. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I just think about them as like the people fucking around me, like regardless of what race or identity you're like subject to.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, I know that the working class isn't like a white dude thing. I know that, but they don't. And so maybe this is how they're learning and teaching each other that it's not. Because
but they'll do that in the same.
They're fucking kid. They're children. Like they're children who are like, oh my god, the working class isn't just a bunch of white dudes. Like maybe that's what's going on. That's all.
Yeah, but they do that in the same breath as they say, like, anytime someone mentions the working class, oh, you're being white supremacist now because you want to focus on class instead of race. It's the same fucking. It's like the fundamental misunderstanding of like the concept that they're trying to see through.
Yeah, it's another bait and switch. You're right.
Yeah. Working class is synonymous with white and all that. Like, yeah, the ride libs. Yeah, but this thing was
it's defined by deindustrialization, right? Like, and so to give like a little bit of pushback, like it represents. It is sometimes synonymous with like you know the Midwest towns that are just rotting from the inside out from like fentanyl deaths and shit like that, yes. Right? And the ethnic makeup of those towns is like frequently fairly white. Like a big infrastructure bill would be like putting a lot of these people to work.
I don't even care about
simultaneously like the same identifier works for people who are like minorities who are living in the inner city who would also benefit from their infrastructure being fixed and they could get jobs.
No, you're totally right. I'm just saying that I'm pointing this out just because like I think that little thing there, like that negligence of just like letting a certain portion of the population just like die and rot away, I think is like kind of the quiet part that you're not supposed to acknowledge. And and I think that like this would be something that kind of would be getting dangerously close to that.
I don't even. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, okay. Well, I was just going to say I found like the actual paragraph of where this was brought up, and it says some people close to the White House said that they feel the emphasis on major physical infrastructure investments reflects a dated nostalgia for a kind of white working class mill worker. In private discussions with the White House, National Economic Council, the Council of Economic Advisors, and the Domestic Policy Council, SEIU International President Mary Kay Henry urged the administration to follow through on its promise to approve major investments in the care economy. And
what is the care economy?
SEIU? Well, the care economy it's basically just like healthcare and education, which is what the SEIU represents primarily. It's the Service Workers International Union. It's the most rad-lib union. They endorsed Elizabeth Warren. They represent like all the college professors, sometimes teachers, and some healthcare workers too, like nurses and shit. And I mean, I'm not going to say that like we don't need, like investments in education or healthcare or whatever, but I think that this shifting over, like it's kind of like the New World Order shit a little bit. It's like it's just people like saying like, no, we are never going back to an industrial economy. We are never going back to blue collar work. We are never going back. So if you want to be able to fit in this economy, you're going to have to get a job in the quote unquote care economy, which isn't productive. It's just replacing things that used to be done by the family primarily. Like you used to not, like people used to not fucking put their grandparents in nursing homes where they die, significantly sooner than they normally otherwise would.
Right. Yeah.
The family used to take care of that. The family used to take care of children before they went to, elementary school and that sort of thing. And this is kind of just, I mean, you can look at it one of two ways. You can look at it as like adapting, or you can look at it as them putting their foot down and saying like, this is the way the economy is now. We're not having a productive economy. All of this is running on autopilot and cheap manufacturing from the third world. And you're just going to have to deal with it. And if you really want to deal with it, you're going to have to get into education,
learn to code,
or develop learn to code, or learn like HR sort of like social skills that allow you to succeed in these sort of industries.
Exactly. It's like it's still just like people fighting to like pry control of like the industrial future of our country from their opponent, and like that's what all of the fucking white supremacy brown scare stuff is around for, is to just basically justify the human wreckage that will come from them.
And also just to justify the austerity that's taking place in the meantime, like right now, like fuck your infrastructure actually, because that's white supremacist, so whatever, you don't need better infrastructure.
That's what I'm thinking.
It's like we can actually just switch over to education, and then we can say that we're doing better stuff for education because we're getting all these like free laptops and education systems from Google and Microsoft and all these other goddamn companies like they did in California.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, because like I don't really care about the racial thing, because like honestly most of the country is white, so most of the working class is white. That's just how the numbers break out. I mean, it's disproportionately minority, but I don't really care about that. Yeah, I don't really care about the racial thing. The point being is just that like they're trying to say that caring about infrastructure is a working class white thing, and this is how they're going to justify like what Stuart just saying. All the austerity, they're going to justify everything. Like having running water is based on like some white working class shit. Like this is how they're going to justify just taking everybody's shit away. This is how they're going to do it.
They did this shit with the power outages in Texas recently.
Yes, I was about to bring that up. Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Do you?
Which, by the way, Texas is like not like a super white state. It's like like white people aren't even 50%. I don't think,
but they're politically white.
Yeah, because they voted for Trump. All of those Mexicans in South Texas.
Yeah, Joe Rogan lives there, dude.
Classic trait of white supremacy is not wanting to die on a collapsing fucking bridge that was built in the 40s. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. When the bridge collapses, they're going to blame it on white supremacy.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's the beginning, middle, and end explanation of everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, exactly.
And also, not to mention that, like, just infrastructure itself. Infrastructure is like the key to public service in general. So, like, if you don't do an infrastructure project, you can't have public transportation ever. So it takes that off the table completely. And like, you can just have people like fucking what's his name, Buttigieg, be like, oh, we're going to tax you per mile that you drive, but also we're not going to provide you with the actual infrastructure to avoid driving. So you're just going to have to stay home and do like some pod shit all the time.
Hey,
well, that's because the professional classes are all working from home now, and a lot of these companies that during the beginning of COVID found out that they could conduct their business remotely are going to continue conducting their business remotely forever. Like that's just a fact, because they're not going to pay for office space when they could just have everybody do everything from home, because obviously like the world hasn't completely fallen apart because of that. And so they're just going to keep doing it. And so all of these professional class people, they don't really have to give a shit about infrastructure because they never leave their house. They have everything delivered. They have, so it just doesn't matter.
Exactly. And they're flying everywhere. They don't need the infrastructure like the middle of the country does. Like they fly everywhere from city to city. So it's like, what do they care? Like, it's totally part of that. Yeah. The Texas thing was the other thing, was like, I was trying to remember, like, that shit was just a mess for so long with the water and the electricity. And I remember Michael Moore was just like, oh, well, this is what you get for voting for Republicans and having white supremacist things or whatever. Didn't he say something like that? Like,
he did. And like, and like, I love the images of the collapsing overpass and the fact that it's, the fault of the working class ultimately that this happened because they're white or what the fuck ever. But, and this is why Radlibs love that fucking 2015 Mad Max movie, because I think what they're going to eventually do is tap into this like white working class redneck love of this post-apocalyptic world. And they're going to be like, oh, you live in Texas, you're driving across an interstate and the fucking road destroys your car and it kills your kid. Well, like that's just like the fun part of living in this world.
It's the authenticity. It's the authenticity.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
My God, I'm sure you don't have a Starbucks for 100 miles here.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh shit, you had to walk through the desert for 30 miles to find water. Like, isn't that fucking cool?
Well, it's like Burning Man,
that's
bro.
Cool.
It's just like
exactly. Yeah.
AOC on TikTok saying "Witness me."
Oh my God. Doing her makeup routine. Am I outweighted?
yeah, exactly. And then we're gonna want to shake the paint can really good, and then we're gonna spray our mouths with it.
War boys. Yeah, just gonna be war boys. Yeah, I love that movie too. But like, I was like really weirded out by how many leftists love that movie and shit because of its like feminist thing. But the feminist thing is just like a decoration on top of it. Like they want us to enjoy that world. They want us to not get too addicted to water. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I just like the whole thing that post-apocalyptic is like the flavor of the time for like the last like 15 years is just the thing that it's just disconcerting to me.
Right, it's video games, movies everywhere.
Especially with like YA fiction.
Oh my God,
we got the kids reading all these stories just about how like
Hunger Games.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
The Giver.
Well, so what can I expect from the future of my life? Well, you're going to need to deal with scarce scarcity and get comfortable with the idea of watching the light fade from your neighbor's eyes as you strangle him for a loaf of bread.
Not just deal with it, but enjoy it. It's like that's
consume it.
Yeah,
that's what the working class is going to be given in lieu of a good life, in lieu of buying a house and retiring when you're 65 or whatever. It's going to be like defending your fucking homestead from cannibals with the fucking AK-47. Like they're forcing those people into that position.
Yeah, Matt,
in Texas, like that was the thing about the whole Texas power outage shit is like the reason why the I guess the rad lib establishment just was just like kind of silent on it was they were like, you guys should be enjoying this, and people kind of were because like we're all such an stultified fucking like sclerotic culture that these rednecks in Texas are really going to enjoy this shit, and they know it. They know it.
And you remember when COVID first started, there was almost like a perverse sort of excitement that I think people had. And I even kind of felt this too, because it was just like everyday life had become so just banal that it was like, okay, something is happening, something is different. And I think that's kind of like emblematic of a society that everybody understands is in decline, but we don't know when it's going to end or how it's going to end or anything like that. It's like when you're a kid and you realize that like one day you're gonna die, and even though like you don't like all you know is like you are mortal, one day you will die, you don't know when or how it's gonna happen, and so you just start fantasizing about like either like what heaven or hell looks like or whatever. And I feel like that's why you get these two dueling sort of preoccupations that we have in our society. One is utopia and the other is dystopia.
Yes.
Positing
and like
sorry, go on.
Go ahead.
Like positing like a dystopian future though that like is separate from our reality as well is able to like add an ironic distance to where you're like waiting for the moment where we switch over to dystopia, where you're like, now like, oh yeah, now we're in a dystopian reality. It's like a fascistic overworld, whatever the hell. When the reality is that it's just going to be worsening levels of what we have now forever and ever. Yes. And like, there's never going to be a real moment when it's like, oh, this is the moment now that we switch quickly into dystopia. Like, no, we're living in that now. And it's just going to be like the frog in the pot.
No, I mean, like the last year has been the closest thing we'll probably get to that, in my opinion. Like, everybody's basically got used to just like, life inside your house and just like full service to your door. That's basically it. At least as far as just like biggest single steps go, right? Like we still got plenty of way to go, I'm sure. But
and if you can prep for like a doomsday in the future and you can plan all this shit about it, blah blah blah, that might never actually come. It keeps you from actually doing anything now.
Oh yeah, they're normalizing insane shit. I mean, it's a cliche now, but obviously like the lockdowns, like them normalizing and everybody just being okay with it, and like nobody really like putting up much of a fight about it, and all the people who did put up a fight about it early on got like shot down and ridiculed. Like it's amazing. We're a year into it now, and nobody even cares if it's gonna end. Like it's already done. It's already, the damage is done mentally and long term.
Well, the idea of like an Armageddon, I think, is comforting to people because I mean, I can speak for myself personally. I would rather just like get hit by a fucking bus one day than spend 2 years on hospice shitting myself and just being miserable. And people, I think that's, even when people think about things like climate change, it's always like the day after tomorrow, where just like one day everything changes and the entire society is just destroyed, instead of this long, drawn out, you don't even quite realize what's happening to you.
A generation long thing.
Exactly.
It's like every single generation now that they've realized that there's something wrong wants to be the last generation. Like I'd rather see the world end while I'm here than it end like right after I'm gone, and not see what the fuck happened.
And I almost think it's, I don't even think it's because you want the end. I think it's just because like you want another chapter in the actual story, like as opposed to just kind of like gray sludge. Like I don't know. Like I was excited about this stuff in the beginning. Like I'll be completely honest about that. Just because again, it was just like I literally was just like saying like oh, cool, like the story's starting up again. You know what I mean? Like something will happen. Like zigging or zagging, I don't know.
History's back.
Exactly, right? And like no, like the system is basically just designed to continue and basically do nothing else, at least at the same level of priority, and like that's what it did.
Just internalize all disaster.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's just kind of like no, like the story didn't start again. It's just that the rest of the story will basically just like take place indoors.
Yeah, anything's better than boredom. And if you're bored inside and you can't leave the house,
right.
or like you don't want to leave the house, like you're just gonna like watch the apocalypse slowly unfold elsewhere. And that's the thing, is like the people in Texas who are gonna like live with in 20 years, 10-20 years, gonna live with like sporadic brownouts, power outages, blah blah blah, because they're either too white or whatever the fuck, they're fascist. Like the people in New York, Chicago, and LA are going to be getting their DoorDash and watching this shit on Instagram live feeds, or like this that's it. Like like any kind of a slow generation long apocalypse is going to be a spectacle for the DoorDash yuppies in the coastal city.
Well, with the George Floyd thing, I think that the problem with George Floyd being made into a symbol, and then like the tearing down of that symbol is always like, oh well, he was a drug addict, he like was using counterfeit money and all that shit. Like the problem with like libs adopting him as a symbol is that it's become totally a conversation about police violence, which is a problem, and and all that. But why was he a drug addict? Why was he so fucking broke that he was trying to use a counterfeit $20 bill?
Exactly.
Like those are the questions that they don't want to address.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so by sort of like elevating him to this sainthood status and like yelling at anybody who brings up any of the problems that he had in his life, they are freezing him in time at the point of his death and ignoring like the horrible, tragic life that he had that society is also in some ways culpable for. Not to say that people don't have free will or that like people can't fuck up and make bad choices, but when you have like somebody who from all reports like started off as a relatively happy person and somehow ended up in this situation, like you're just erasing any culpability that you might have and just making it a problem of the police and not a problem of the society or the class system or anything like that.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean one thing that I was probably one of the reasons I like brought up the Floyd comparison, because I was just having a conversation the other day about this, and like both sides of that, right? The like George Floyd is is like if Mother Teresa was a strong black man, making him this like making fucking like prayer candles or whatever the fuck you call them out of him, and just
those
shit,
are so good.
Just this fucking weird shit that people need to do with their fucking consumer brains. And then the other side of that of being like fucking he was a horrible criminal, which like for all like by all accounts seems to be true. They're both playing into the basic concept that is really common in this was kind of what No Name the other day was getting at. We talked about that recently, of basically like if lower class people want us to save them, then like they need to get their shit together and they need to prove that their souls are worth redemption, as opposed to the actual reality of living in shitty conditions frequently produces shitty people who are deeply morally flawed, and that doesn't have any sway over whether or not they deserve to starve to death. Like they shouldn't have to starve to death, and the factory workers don't need to prove that they're morally worthy of not dying deaths of despair. It's completely fucking ridiculous. And like I remember I got into some spat with some lady on Twitter who was like, well, I actually I wrote some book about how looting and theft are morally permissible things and all of that, right? And it comes down to like, would you steal a loaf of bread if your family was starving, right? And like, I think the whole thing is like, this is all navel gazing bullshit. I don't really care if it's good or it's bad. It just is, right?
Right.
Horrible conditions make people that you could basically consider to be morally terrible, right?
Yes,
and it doesn't fucking matter. How about you address what's making them do that in the first place, as opposed to waiting for them to be morally righteous? It's like fucking.
Right.
I'm like reading Blood Meridian right now, right? And it's just like the judge.
So good.
Yeah, of course. And it's just the judge talking about war, right? And it's just like war was before man. It's a fucking force of the universe, right?
Right.
And I think about like those videos of like the Milwaukee. I'm doing the whole shtick we talked about the other day. Sorry, I wasn't talking to you guys. It's the videos of people like looting the Target and everything, right? And people being like, oh, you see some fat lady in a wheelchair get the shit kicked out of her because she was yelling at looters, and leftists are like, well, she shouldn't have done that. And then right wingers are like, oh, these monkeys shouldn't be stealing. And it's like, you guys are literally arguing about something that's completely irrelevant. This is just misery incarnate. There's nothing good about what's happening here. And and you guys are just chewing around the edges of like whether or not it's morally permissible for people to be doing these things, right? And it's like it's completely irrelevant. It's completely irrelevant, right?
Well, that's why they have to have the narrative of systemic racism instead of systemic classism. They have to be like, well, like if George Floyd was a white guy, would we be having this conversation about him? No. So it's like, it's about systemic racism. It's like, they're like, for every George Floyd, like we've already established that the majority of the working class is white, like, but not by that much, like 20 percentage points or something. Like, so like, like if George Floyd was a white guy, none of this shit would have happened. But George Floyd, if as a white guy was subject to the same fucking external forces upon his life as George Floyd as a black guy. So they'd have to glom onto his race because that's how they process it. They're like, oh, he was killed because he was a black guy. If he was a bouncer in a club who was on a bunch of fucking drugs, because if you're a bouncer in a club, you're on a fucking bunch of drugs.
Yeah.
That's just life. That's the life that they're so far removed from. Like they see a bouncer in a club like once a month. Like somebody like me, I see a bouncer in a club like fucking 3 or 4 or 5 times a month. That's why they had to make him a black guy instead of a white guy, because they have to racialize it instead of make it about class.
Well, if George Floyd had been like a tenured professor at like an HBCU, he would have never been killed because he would have never been using a counterfeit 20 to buy cigarettes at a gas station.
Yes.
And
exactly.
I mean, I remember like 2 weeks after this happened, there was some meth head in my hometown that there was a video of the police beating the fuck out of this meth head in a trailer park to the point where like you couldn't even see his face, and it was a white guy. And it was like, no, like this happens to the underclass, wherever the underclass might be. It might look different. And if you're in a large city, a lot of times that is black people, but if you're in like the rural South, a lot of times that's white people. Or if you're in the Southwest, that's Mexicans. Or it could be, if you're in like the Plain States, Native Americans on the reservations who have also terrible fucking conditions that produces all kinds of drug addiction and alcoholism and everything. It just depends on where you are. And the underlying cause is like being at the bottom of society, having no prospects for a better life, and
constantly grinding. And you need that fucking meth and that fentanyl to be constantly grinding. And that's just like what they don't want to look at. They want to look at the meth and the fentanyl is either, if you're white and you're on meth and fentanyl, it's a moral failing. It's like it's you haven't embraced your privilege. But if you're black, the meth and the fentanyl is like, oh, you had no choice.
It's that concept of like worthy and unworthy victims, right? Like that kind of used in like foreign policy and stuff like that. One thing that I heard that I thought was like really poignant was what was it? The kid who called. Well, I don't know if he was a kid, but the guy working at the store where the counterfeit 20
breaks my heart
was used. He called the cops, right? Well, I think it was either in some interview or in the trial or whatever. He's talking and basically says, I had no interest in calling the cops. Apparently his boss was going to deduct any of that money used from counterfeits from his paycheck. Thus,
which is like 2 hours of his fucking job. If
That's
not more.
crazy.
Right. A quarter of a work day right there. So, and that's even being generous after after all
an
that.
hour, 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
So here comes some working class issues being injected in there. I thought this was about race, though.
Yeah. That's a great point. I didn't even know that. That's a great point. Yeah, I mean, we started this show like. Go ahead.
Oh no, sorry. I was just gonna say it's just like I think just like the important thing to like keep in mind is it's just like if he died from ODing or a heart attack or he was really choked out or whatever, right? Regardless of that, or if he was a morally righteous person or all of these things, right?
Right.
The takeaway remains the same for literally all of these.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's where like I don't really care about these tiny little differences and details, right? Because again, like the lesson at the end of the day is very cut and dry across all of the different possible outcomes, which is. Again, who the fuck uses counterfeits? We've been beating on it forever, right? I'm not gonna be the
when we started the show, it was like a year ago that we had talked about. It's already been like almost a year. Like we that was like one of the first things we had talked about, like seriously, and like I mean, we were live reacting, and like I mean, my stance is exactly the same as it was then. It's what River was just saying. It's like you make all these economic conditions that drive this to happen, and then the odds of these things happen, and then it's happening all the time everywhere. But they cherry picks the ones that are useful.
Yes.
To get $10 billion for BLM to go to Act Blue to get Democrats elected. That's what the fuck this shit is for. So if it goes on, they don't give a fuck if it goes on. They don't care about that. What happened now after all that time, after all that crazy shit last summer? What happened? All the woke scolding people. Anytime I questioned for a second, was like, hey, well, there's a class element to this. Anytime I said that, people were just snapping, losing it, hysterical. And what happened after that? Now it's gone. It's just dead. It was a fad. It was BLM Coachella.
To be fair, we did take those small business tyrants to task and absolutely decimated them. So we did accomplish something
with the help of our good friend COVID.
Yeah, and it just disappeared because all it was about was getting Kamala into the fucking presidency, and that's what happened. And you know what I mean? That's to get the money to rig the votes to get her in. That's what happened. And I mean, and the reason why they have the cops beat on these people, the underclass, to do these things is because it's cheaper. They pay a cop not even that much money to beat on another person of the underclass because it's cheaper. That shit is cheaper than actually preventing this shit from happening. And I don't get
totally. And within the Democratic Party, the quote unquote like progressive solution is to simply
defund.
Not just defund, but like it's to eliminate the black-white wage the black-white wealth gap, basically to like reorganize class society to where it's more demographically even rather than to eliminate like class society itself. So if they ever actually did that, they would kind of be in a sort of hole of their own making, because you couldn't really say, oh, well, yeah, all of these problems go back to, poverty, but it's white supremacy because poverty disproportionately affects black people. If they were no longer able to say that, they wouldn't have any answer for what you do with this underclass, which up until this point, they've been able to kind of ignore how diverse it is.
Yeah. We're gonna treat you both equally like shit. We're gonna close the gap between you two, and you two are both gonna live like shit. Poor black people and poor white people. That's what they're trying to get at, right? They're not gonna close the gap between the lizards that run everything and you. They're not gonna do that. They're going to make sure that you both get fucked equally. And everybody know. I mean, I've already been very clear about how, I hate the left on this whole issue and how they react to the whole thing and how they try to obfuscate the class thing. But yeah, I recently have these right wingers in my fucking mentions, and they're just like, they're trying to tell me like, oh, he was on fentanyl and he had it coming, and the black gene, the criminals. These are obviously like, crazy people, obviously, but like, so they're not representative of the rights en masse or whatever, but like these people trying to tell me like, oh, you know, the solution is like mass incarceration and the state, the neo-lib state putting a heavier boot down. That's their solution to this. Yeah. And it's just like it's just this, like, if I say there's anything class related at all, they give me the same thing the libs do. They say, no, it's not. It's because he's black or because he's a criminal or it's his genes or whatever. And, you know, these people, they're cucked the same way. They're cucked by the same fucking smoke and mirrors, just the other way. And it's like what Slav was saying, like this whole, like, you can't even just die in this country. They got to commodify your death to make you a saint or to make you a demon. You can't just be a regular fucking person that was reacting to external forces around you. It can't be that. You have to be one or the other. And now all I see is just, oh, he's a demon. Oh, he's a fucking, you know, he's a saint or whatever. It's only one of those. That's all I see. And, you know, this whole trial is a fucking joke. This shit is a joke. I don't give a fuck what they do with him, Chauvin or whatever. I don't give a fuck about him. He's irrelevant. Floyd is irrelevant. That's what people don't get is like these are just individuals that are supposed to be representative of a broader current. That's the point. But of course, like everything, like every time there's one of these fucking Trayvon Martin or whatever these cases, all we can talk about is the case. Nitpick these little details about what happened here, what happened there, his hand movement here, this second in the video, all this stupid, trivial bullshit. Because they
distractions.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. I'm
Never
sick
mind
of
the
this
fact
shit.
that, like, it shouldn't happen in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, it drives me fucking insane. And I mean, I've done my spiel on the left before, but like, yeah, the right version of it I don't know what to fucking tell you people.
It's equally as retarded. Bad. I mean, people on both sides these people are just stuck in a smoke and mirrors show like you're saying. I mean, like, there's no better alternative on the left or on the right. Like, searching for there to be one is retarded.
Yeah, and I can understand people, you know, if you're someone who knew him personally, being invested in, like, you know, justice for him or whatever, or even if you didn't, like, I can understand the desire to want that. But as far as it reflecting on the broader society, it's not like if cops are prosecuted more heavily that it's going to change anything, because the underlying conditions that produce the type of behavior that gets people shot is still going to be there. And because, I mean, when cops, like, when they shoot these people, even if they don't get convicted, they usually don't get to work as cops anymore. It's not like most of them really don't, you know, just to get to go back to like their normal lives. So they already kind of know that there's going to be some consequence, but it's like, it's an on edge society because there is, you know, crime, everybody has a gun, whatever. And, you know, that's because of poverty and drug addiction and mental instability. And all of that has a root cause that's just not being addressed by anybody.
Yeah, that's why I don't care about this trial. If he gets acquitted or if he gets guilty, whatever, they're not going to address that. They're not going to address the broader thing. This is going to happen again. It's going to happen again because it's been happening over and over and over. It's going to keep happening. And none of this trial, it's like they think the OJ trial, the verdict has some you know, broader implication on, like, you know, it's some deep lens into American society beyond the fact that it was just a spectacle. You know what I mean? It's like, this is just another spectacle. It's a pissing contest. Right. Whatever the verdict is just a joke. It's just a symbolic point for one side, and it doesn't mean anything.
Yes. Yeah. And it
just negates the fact that, like,
they've totally circumscribed how this is going to be received by the people. Like, if he's acquitted, it's going to be one thing. If he's convicted, it's going to be another. So, like, it really doesn't matter in the end. It's like, either way, they've won. The anarcho-liberals have fucking won. So it doesn't matter. Like, you know, there's never going to be a discourse about, like, why Floyd was killed. It's going to be about how he was killed. That's it. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, exactly.
If the knee quit, you must acquit.
I was literally like,
is that what you're going for?
I was literally about to interrupt you to just say, if the knee don't fit, you must acquit. I don't even know. Like, that's not even. I'm just being disruptive. That's not.
It's been so trippy. It's been so trippy to see these fucking, like, leftists on Twitter, and some that I actually kind of respect, being like, "No, it was murder," and other ones who were like, "No, it's not murder. He was fucked up." And it's just like, who gives a fuck? Like, that literally doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. This motherfucker is dead, and, like, 2020 happened. Either way, like literally, it's all a bait and switch maneuver, a fucking shell game to talk about, like, why he was using a $20 counterfeit bill to buy a fucking pack of smokes or whatever. That's like,
Yeah.
that's literally the whole fucking like smoke and mirrors is to distract from why this motherfucker had to use a $20 bill that was fake.
Yeah, it's like the result of the action and the interaction isn't important. The important part is that the interaction shouldn't have happened in the first fucking place.
Yeah,
and neither should half of his other arrests, which are just on some like possessing some cocaine. Like, like the working class, not the working class, the ruling class invents crimes that are like, it just names the externalities of living in this horrible system crimes and criminalizes them rather than addressing and fixing them. So half these fucking things that cause these interactions shouldn't even be happening in the first place because they're not even real fucking crimes. Like using some drugs is not a crime. I'm not going to get into like saying that like people, if you're stealing things, it's like a crime of necessity. But like if we have just endless like thousands and thousands of interactions a day and a week and a month with police because of poor people happen to be using some drugs to try to escape the horrible reality that they're in, or maybe they happen to be selling some to try to make some money because they can't fucking make any money. I don't think that those are things that should even cause police interactions in the first place. And that's something we should be like looking at rather than just saying like, well, the interaction didn't go the way it should in a perfect world. Well, like, no, motherfucker, things don't go one way. Like,
all these people telling me, well, he should have acted like this during when the police are. I'm like, yo, why the fuck is he even being stopped for what? Like, for why is nonviolent drug shit like? It's just an excuse for these people to ticket people and collect money through criminality of being poor. That's all it is. That's all this shit is. And I can't wait for this shit to happen again. It's gonna happen again, and we can nitpick the next fucking case and rewind and watch the video and hammer away at the time. I can't wait for this fucking shit to happen again.
And there's also this like weird element of like I'm kind of obsessed with how clout works in our culture, like clout, internet clout, like milieu clout, like who you know, who you don't know, how many Instagram followers you have, how popular you are in your little milieu. Like Floyd was popular. People tend to overlook this fact. Like a lot of motherfuckers knew who George Floyd was because he was a bouncer in a club that a lot of people went to. If George Floyd had just been some like nameless fucking janitor, you know, that nobody fucking knew who he was, would we even be talking about his name?
Dude, I'm trying to get that George Floyd clout. That's my fucking goal there.
I'm internet sleuthing. I'm gonna figure out exactly the moment that he died and what caused it, and I want to know before anyone else.
Exactly. I want to know. I want to know what he was wearing when he was killed because that's important.
He dies, and then you follow him on social media right after you see it. Wait for the follow back.
Start digging.
The icons of our revolution: Amy Therese, George Floyd, Samantha Pritchard.
There you go. Oh shit!
That's probably worth editing out to be completely straight.
You said the name of that one should not be spoken. It's a dark spirit, like.
Man, I don't know about y'all, but White Boy Summer is gonna be all about drunk driving for me. I'm gonna test the limits of my white privilege to see how many DUIs I can make it out of this summer
without a George Floyd type incident occurring to you.
I'm just like, I'm in my boyfriend's fancy ass like 2020 fucking Ram Dodge 100 truck. I'm just gonna be like, what are you gonna do? I'm in a $50,000 truck. You gonna take me to jail? No.
This White Boy Summer, we're reclaiming the person being killed by the police.
Let's go.
The infrastructure plan should make the roads more suitable for drunk driving. I think that's really what's missing.
There we go.
Wider.
Setting aside a lot of the funding for just drunk bumps on every single roadway.
Yeah. All
right. Well, it's like PSAs that state governments put out. That's just like, hey man, like if you're driving home, you're starting to fade. Just try looking at the road with one eye open. Maybe roll the window down, get a little bit of cold air on your face. Like
right.
You know, have a couple.
If you feel the bumps, you've gone too far.
Exactly. Drink a nice fresh Coca-Cola. It will sober you up for the drunk ride home.
Do a little meth, do a little coke, take some uppers, like balance it out.
Yeah.
Dude, just throw in a little bit of Boston, get the good vibes going, and it'll give you the confidence you need to get home.
Yeah, no more bike lanes. I need drunk driver lanes. Let's go. White Boy Summer. Let's go.
I like this. White Boy Summer.
All right. Well, we should wrap it up. But this was great, guys. Thanks for coming on. we should get you guys back on again. But this was great. Much appreciated.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for
you
having
guys
us.
want to plug anything before we go?
I mean, my shit's still in the oven right now, so I'm gonna plug Safety Propaganda, Adam Lehrer's weekly thing. It's the best thing that's happening. Even if you're not into like art world shit, like you should be, because it's still like kind of the vanguard of shit. But yeah, Adam Lehrer's Safety Propaganda. That's all I'm plugging.
You can check out my writing on twinkrip.com.
Always.
I'd like to plug Charles Barkley because that motherfucker is based. He just had a nice little rundown on the Sports Center. Everyone should go check it out. It's pretty sick.
Chuck, come on the show. Chuck, come on.
Yeah, let's get Chuck on here. And I'm an Auburn boy as well, and a Bama boy. So let's go, Chuck.
Yeah. And then I'd like to plug the Fed Post and my dog Alma, who I think just shit herself. So yeah, she's doing all right.
The ferocious pit bull.
The ferocious pit bull.
I also want to replug Rachel Dolezal's art. Rachel Dolezal's art is the shit. Everybody should go spend $50 on a Rachel Dolezal print because that bitch is a fucking great artist.
That rocked. I heard she was a ghostwriter of Get Out and Us.
Oh my god!
Really?
No, that was just a fucking dumbass joke.
Oh, okay.
That wasn't even good.
Oh no,
that would be a fucking turn though. Like, that would be
support
exciting.
Rachel Dolezal. That's all.
That'd be so fuck funny.
All right, folks. Yeah. All right. Well, yeah. Let's do this again sometime for sure.
Let's do it.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Peace, y'all.
Take care,
Peace,
boys.
y'all. Good night.
Bye.
Happy Sunday.
Bye. Happy Easter.
Happy
Risen.